Welcome to day 9 of the League's 4 early reveals, and today's reveal is the Special Attack Relic. So this one's definitely a little more interesting. We have the Weapon Master Relic, and it makes special attacks have 100% accuracy, and you will start sacrificing your HP for additional special attacks. And despite actually expecting to get another special attack relic in this league, it dramatically differs from the original one. Weapon Specialist in Trailblazer League made all attacks have 10% increased accuracy and 10% increased damage. And then instead of regenerating 10% every 30 seconds, you would regenerate 30%. And then basically any special attacks that costed more than 25% of your spec bar would be nerfed down to just 20%. So you would still be able to use a BGS 5 times, but one, you weren't guaranteed 100% accuracy, but then you also weren't going to lose a massive chunk of your HP. And if we go back through this video, you can actually see that special attacks are going to have the exact same percentage as they do currently in the main game. And then basically you're going to have as many additional special attacks as you have HP. If we rewind just a little bit, you can see each of the additional special attacks that suck away your life points take 25 HP each spec. So if you have 99 HP, you still have the ability to spec 5 times at once without doing anything else. But as you can see by the very end of this clip right here, he gets hit a 12 and you are very easy to just get comboed out depending on what boss you're fighting. At the same time though, this does open up a dramatically different strategy than we had available in the traditional First League. And that's purely the fact that if you continue to eat, you can just continue to spec dump. You can constantly keep spec dumping with 100% accuracy, barring that you have the HP to do it. You could very easily dump out 5 specs and then combo eat a couple times and throw in a couple normal attacks in the middle there, and then just dump a ton of specs again. I do like how it clearly shows what you're going to be using whenever you do use these special attacks. Once it goes through the initial actual special attack bar, it shows a little life point symbol to show that you're going to be siphoning your HP when you use them. The bar also goes down to 0 whenever you get below 25 HP, so it does look like you're not going to be able to accidentally spec yourself out for nothing. It'll also be interesting to see whether you just take a flat 25 HP with this relic, regardless of what your hit points level is, or if it will scale down with your hit points. I could very easily see it being a thing like you always have the ability to get 3 additional specs off, and it just does a percentage of what your hit points is. And the amount of damage you take just scales proportionally with whatever HP you actually have. One build this makes dramatically more interesting now is going to be using the range relic with something like the Arma Crossbow or the ZCB, and then also having Onyx Bolts with it. Because if you didn't know, the special effect of Onyx Bolt's ease is actually Life Leech, and this will deal an extra 20% damage or 32% if you're using the Zerite Crossbow, and it will heal you 25% of the damage dealt. And considering that your special attacks are going to have 100% accuracy, how many special attacks would you actually be able to keep dumping with this set effect? It would definitely depend on the boss you're fighting, but for some of the bosses that range is already super effective against, I feel like for the most part you'd be able to just absolutely rip something apart. Using buff damage, 100% accuracy special attacks that hurt you but then also heal you a percentage of it. I don't know the actual max hit of what this setup would be, and realistically that dramatically affects how good this method would actually be. But even with just basic numbers, let's say you hit 40s with all of the special attacks on average, then you're healing 10% back if you're taking 25s if you have full HP. If I'm not absolutely blundering the math off the top of my head, I think that gives you a guaranteed at least 2 more additional special attacks before you would be under 25 HP and ineligible to actually use another special attack. Overall, some interesting changes to the Spec Relic in this league. And honestly, for just my initial thoughts, I'm not entirely sure on whether this is a buff or a nerf. I mean, regardless, it's always going to be viable depending on what kind of gear setups you're going for. Like, obviously, this relic is dramatically less useful if you are taking a magic route, considering that a majority of the magic weapons in the game have pretty trash special attacks. And before we end off the video, another weapon to take into account that I just saw is the Karis Partisan of the Sun. And if you didn't know, this weapon's special attack consumes 50 prayer points and 75% of the spec bar, but it also fully heals you and a 20% over your base hit points level. So this becomes a very interesting one. How exactly would this relic work with this weapon? Would you still be able to use it after your special attack bar runs out and it just takes 25 HP but then dramatically overheals you anyway? I mean, even for a non-melee build, this thing could become dramatically more important now. You're talking you could dump some ZCB specs and then throw one of these right in the middle and then dump a few more specs with the ZCB right afterwards. Being able to use an effect like this with just the life-leeching special attack bar, you would essentially have unlimited spec and unlimited HP just at the cost of you continuously losing 50 prayer points. And then there's always the basic builds where you're talking like an SGS, basically giving you unlimited special attack and HP. But that one's a little less interesting considering the fact that you are just camping an SGS at that point. And then outside of the HP and prayer boost, the actual special attack doesn't do that crazy amount of damage like some of the other weapons. But those are a few methods. I'm very interested to see what actually ultimately comes of them. Let me know down in the comments below if I missed any good spec weapons you think will be great with this new relic. An interesting change in comparison to the spec relics in Leagues 2 that I think could spawn quite a few different methods, not to mention all of the new spec weapons we have in the game now. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed today's analysis of the new special attack relic. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, consider dropping it a like, and I will catch you guys tomorrow with another reveal.